Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our preview for This Is Us Season 6, Episode 10. This episode is titled Every Version of You. It is the conclusion to the Big Three trilogy,
hmm
and it is a spotlight on Randall, who basically, I love Randall, but he hasn't really had that much to do in a while, so.
No, he really hasn't. I mean, we know that there's, a little bit of hanging fruit here still with what's going on with Deja, but outside of that, I mean, things are fairly good for him.
That's what I think is going to make this episode so interesting because I think it's going to raise a big question. He's going to spend a lot of time with Rebecca, and maybe all of this plus that talk that, happened at Thanksgiving will cause him to really ponder over, am I fully satisfied with my career? Am I doing enough? Is there a way to push even forward beyond all of this?
Yeah.
Before we go further, though, of course, hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for getting us to that 59,000
Yes,
mark.
thank you.
Really, really cool. We will, of course, have a review for this episode of This Is Us the moment that it airs on NBC this coming Tuesday.
And thank you to everyone who left us some comments about our dog, Coco Chanel Vanderwoof. On Tuesday, when we were speaking to you guys, she was still scheduled to go in for her surgery next Wednesday. It happened yesterday. So after we had recorded that video, we got a call that there was an opening for her to go in yesterday. So she's doing all right.
Yeah.
She had a bit of a rough night. So if we look back, this is why
Yeah.
we were up with her all night. She had a little tumor removed. She had a little cyst on her back removed. She was supposed to maybe have
Yeah.
teeth removed, but her teeth ended up being A-okay. So they're all pearly white now. But
Yes.
we just wanted to say thank you to everyone. We've got, some more updates up on our Instagram, Matt and Just TV, and we will continue to update over there.
Yeah. And, this episode is, we've had a whole range of emotions this week. We had all the feels with the Kate episode, then all the
Yeah,
feels with the dog, and now we have
I know.
all the feels with Randall, because where we sort of know Randall ends up in, at the time of Kate's second wedding, there is that article with the New Yorker that I think all of us have been sort of thinking about for most of this season, being like, okay, where is this going to go? Obviously, he's not just going to be in this same position that he's in forever.
No, and I mean, it's a 5-year timeline that seems that he's going to be able to make some big moves. And just watching the promo, it felt like, Kevin got a lot out of the talk with Rebecca where she was like, go out,
Yeah.
grab life, make some changes. He did that. He went and spent time with his kids. He wanted to prove to himself that he was a good dad, he's a good man, and he started to love himself, and he did make some big changes. Same with Kate.
Yeah.
She, climbed that hill at the end of the last episode and then was like, I'm setting down roots in LA. I want to, change my life as well for myself to continue to give myself happiness. She is grabbing that ring too. But after watching the promo with Randall, it felt a lot like maybe he's not ready to reach for that ring and make a lot of big changes. He was sort of talking to Rebecca, being like, now's not the time for this. Like, there's so much uncertainty in the family right now that it feels like the family needs stability, not
Yeah.
to start making big changes in life. We need to all be here together, stable, rock.
Randall's such a warrior, and I think this is
Yeah.
probably why he's one of my most relatable characters, because I'm also a warrior, and I think he thinks and overthinks through every single problem. And I think because of all of this, he's really reaching towards that idea of, okay, we need stability, we need this, we need that, because we can't handle anything else. And I think he's trying to sacrifice, I think, a part of what could be an ambition or an idea in his own head for the sake of other people, which is understandable. He's a lot like Jack. He wants to be sort of the Superman, but I think Rebecca wants him to be something beyond that. And I think she would like for him to realize that he can take on more for himself. That doesn't mean that he has to go and, abandon his kids or abandon Beth or like do anything like that. I mean, she believes in him. Everybody in this family believes in Randall. It's just for some reason Randall gets so stuck on things he doesn't see it.
Yeah, Randall really does feel like he's got to be the guy that's there for everyone else, and
Yes.
his own stuff is back burner, and it is for a lot of his life. He just feels like he's got to be the one to take care of everyone. He's got to make sure everybody's standing on their own 2 feet. And now he's kind of in this spot where Kevin doesn't need that from him
No.
anymore. Kevin is standing on his own 2 feet. He doesn't know it yet, but Kate doesn't need that from him either. Kate has finally found herself and is standing on her own 2 feet and getting ready to do that and continue on with this life that she's created for herself, that she has this happiness with. Also with his own family, things are going really well for Beth right now. And we
Yeah.
know in the future, she's going to be doing even better and better and better. So he's at a point that, even though there's some stuff with Deja, and we'll talk about that,
Yeah.
it is time for him to be okay to just move a little forward. He's dealt with some of his stuff in the past.
Yeah.
Family's okay. Even with what's going on with Rebecca didn't choose him to have to do this.
No.
She chose Miguel and she chose Kate. This also gives Randall a chance to focus on himself.
He needs to figure out how to release some of these, burdens that he's put in his head. And I'm not saying that any one person is a burden. That's just that this is something that Randall thinks that he needs to carry. And it's okay for other people to carry their own things sometimes.
Yes.
It's okay for all the responsibility to be divided. And I think Randall, what makes him a great sort of, I don't necessarily want to call him a politician, because I don't think Randall would call himself a politician, but I think what makes him so good in like civic duty is that he can see the big picture for a lot of different people, and he is very caring, and he's very loving, and he's very smart, and he can use this to sort of expand his reach. And for years I have wondered, from like the very first time that we saw Randall in like the flash forwards on Rebecca's deathbed, I had this idea of like, could he be Senator Randall? Like, I don't think we're going to see Randall as like president of the United States at some point during This Is Us. There were no Secret Service there.
No.
But I could see him eventually getting to that level. Like that New Yorker article suggests to me that maybe he is like a representative. Maybe he's in Congress at least at that point.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the Deja stuff,
Okay.
because we know that over Thanksgiving, she hadn't heard from Malik for the whole morning, which, as a teenager, when you don't hear from someone for one whole morning, which is really like just about 4 or 5 hours, it feels like it's a month. So, like,
Yes.
I get it. We've all been there. So when that first happened, I was like, well, it's also Thanksgiving for him. Maybe he's with his kid. Maybe he's with his family. Maybe his battery died. Like, stuff happens. However, in this promo, we saw her actually confronting Randall and saying, listen, you told Malik to leave me alone and to not be with me and to leave me. Like, and then she said the words that I think every parent dreads hearing, which is the, I hate you.
Yeah. And this is one of those times where I hope Beth can get through to Randall and be like, listen, if you don't hear an I hate you from your kids at least like once or twice in your life, you're probably doing it wrong. Because like every teenager says this. Now, what Randall did do here was step in it pretty big when it comes to going to Malik and saying this to Malik and not saying it to Deja, and then expecting that Malik is never going to say anything to Deja, because inevitably that stuff is going to happen. And I think the issue for him, once again, is he doesn't let go of control. He didn't want to let go of control when it comes to Rebecca and her medical care. I think he's struggling to let go of the idea that Miguel and Kate are the ones responsible to take care of her. And I think he wants to really navigate Deja through her life because he thinks he knows best.
He just handled it so badly. Yeah. I mean, going to Malik and being like, you need to break up with my daughter. I mean, come on. It's such a bad reaction to this.
Yeah.
And I mean, Malik did say, I'm going to do you a favor, and I am not going to tell Deja that you said this because it is really going to hurt your relationship. When he didn't end up texting her that morning or all Thanksgiving. Clearly, he was having some problems. Maybe just sitting on that secret that
Yeah.
he's just like, oh man, her dad did this thing and I'm in love with her. And, do I tell her? Do I not tell her? It was a big burden to put on Malik as well. So it seems like he probably ended up at some point being like, listen, I just need some time to think about how I was going to tell you. Because
Yeah.
I don't think he was going to leave her. It felt like he needed to figure out what to do about this. And it's just kind of like, I understand that Randall didn't want Deja to move out to Boston to be with her man, and that's fine, and finish up school early. But the big thing that was still there is that she asked him and had to ask him for permission to be able to do this because she was underage. Just don't give the permission. Like, if you're not able to want this to happen, you're like, listen, I'm your parent, it's too early, down the road, sure, once you're 18 I can't stop you from doing anything, but right now I can. So, you want to hate me, you can hate me, but I'm just not going to give you permission to do it, and that's the end of it.
And I think that's gotta be the way inevitably we go here. It's the way that makes the most sense. Like, I think the solution to this storyline is it's sort of the classic compromise, right? Where nobody ever ends the compromise like fully happy. I could see Randall doing something that gets through to Deja where we don't have another I hate you moment where maybe she doesn't get everything that she wants in terms of having a life with Malik right now, but the two can move forward together. They can, I just feel like they can figure this out. And Deja, over time especially, will realize Randall is coming from a good place. Like, Randall clearly is not out to hurt her, not out to make her feel bad, but he's also being overly controlling and he's manipulating this situation in a really bad way in some ways, and he's just not really fully understanding that because he's used to being able to control things.
Yeah, Randall seems to only really operate at a 1 or a 10, where
Yes.
it's kind of like Deja's doing this as well, where it's, a 1 or a 10. Oh, I need to move to Boston and move in with my boyfriend because we spent one night together. Okay, she's in love. That's fine. No problem. You want to be with Malik? No problem. How about meeting at like a 3 or a 4 where you don't move in with him, but maybe you can still go and see him on a weekend or for an evening because you're not going to stop that, or have Malik come down on the weekend and stay at the house supervised with everybody. Like, there are other ways to go about it where she's not just moving in with Malik.
Nuance is your friend, Randall.
Yeah.
I say this as someone who also is either a 1 or a 10. This is what Randall and I, we have too much in common. But no, I'm really excited to see where this goes. I hope we get some answers as to how he starts to get into this political stuff.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get some of that, but I think we're gonna get a lot of how he's gotta let go of control in some way. And that's why I think that there might be compromise here, which is something that he does really need to learn, and something that Beth knows how to do very well,
Yeah.
and something that he can really learn more from Beth.
Well, we will be back, of course, after this episode to break it all down. Hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss that. And check out our coverage of Snowfall, Killing Eve, The Blacklist. We have a lot happening at the channel. And we'll see you here next time.